Hi, friends. Welcome back if you're coming back, and welcome here for the first time if you've never joined one of these live sessions before. Um, yeah, the eclipse is in like 7 minutes, I think. I think it starts in Mexico on the West Coast. I'm on the West Coast of the US right now. So that's kind of fun that we're gonna hit that during this session. I lost my chat. 1 second. Where did that go? I'm sorry, y'all. Here we go. Brian's like, I'm into a little everything. Yeah, I'm not surprised. What's up, Eddie? Eddie's in LA. Comment Sense. Hi, it's nice to see you. You're in Toronto. Cool. Demi in Washington. Cool. I'm in Portland right now. Right on. So, yeah, I just wanted to do more of these sessions because we're coming up, as I think all of y'all probably know, on the fourth Bitcoin halving. Let's actually look at that countdown clock right now. So, yeah, it's coming up. This is predicting April 19th now. The predicted date varies because it's dependent on when a specific block is mined. Sorry, here we go. Should be shown over here. Sorry, y'all. I should have been better prepared for this. But it's showing April 19th as I'm checking this out at the moment. There's like a lag, so I don't know why it's showing both here. I guess I have two windows open. Yeah, y'all don't need to see my YouTube stats. They're still not even very good yet. That's super weird. It shouldn't be showing this because that window isn't even actually open in the window that I have open to show you the graphs. Like this is like a phantom tab that's showing you my YouTube statistics. I know it's Mercury retrograde right now, but I've never seen a glitch like that before. Let me see if I can correct it without closing the live altogether. I want to show you this countdown clock. What the hell? I'm not sure what to do. Let's see. Hi, little. My puppies here. Okay, I'm reopening the live in another window. I can see the chat here, so that should be good. Cool. Okay, now I'm gonna see if I can't like close this and open it again. That's such a weird glitch. All right. One sec, y'all. I apologize, but I swear this was not my fault. It's just some weird glitch. Okay. So yeah, I want to show you the countdown clock for the Bitcoin halving, which is now expected to happen on, there we go. We got this. Cool. All right. On April 19th, this is predicting now. So let's take a look at this. Cool. You can see it now. Yeah. So you can see that this predicts that the halving is going to happen on April 19th at 2:17 p.m. Pacific time. So, as I think many of y'all know, this varies depending on, this is when they're predicting that a specific block will be mined, at which point the halving will take place. So that's why the date has bounced around a bit. It was predicted to happen on April 20th it's been showing April 20th like off and on, which is interesting, as I know many of y'all also know, because that's the day of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus, which is about money and decentralization and tech and abundance. So it really seems like it's pointing toward energies, coming into the crypto sector that could help us out and bring us more wealth. Yeah, so that's, 11 days away right now. And I was just away doing like a Vipassana meditation self course at my house. So I haven't been paying close attention to what's going on in the markets. I haven't looked in the markets at all in like a week and a half or so. So I haven't seen what's up. I was just checking things out some this morning in preparation for our live. So if anything significant happened that you're aware of that it seems obvious that I don't know about, feel free to share it in the chat. Um, I should introduce myself. If we don't know each other, I'm Rachel. I am the founder of Seeds, which is a crypto mutual aid project that's helped people in 30 countries and counting. Our mission is about using blockchain technology to transcend the zero sum extractive nature of capitalistic systems by bringing in a healthy balance of feminine energy and rewarding giving. Because when you help someone in need through Seeds, you get Seeds cryptocurrency and thanks. And the idea there is that we want giving people to build wealth because they help someone in need, because that seems like a kinder economic system that's more aligned with what actually happens in nature, because abundance is available for everybody. It's just that the old system presents a lot of gatekeepers that make abundance difficult for too many of us to access. So Seeds is about transcending that. And I do these talks because I want nice people to benefit from cryptocurrency generally. So I want to share the knowledge that I have about cryptocurrency trading. I used to be a professional stock trader on Wall Street and in Chicago until I quit because of the misogyny. And I founded Seeds in 2013, which seems crazy. We introduced our cryptocurrency, also called Seeds, in 2017. And yeah, it's been this long journey of negotiating the problems in the old system because there's so much discrimination that it's been hard for Seeds to raise money. Like less than 2% of tech funding goes to female founded organizations. But at the same time, Seeds is about transcending that. Like I would love it if Seeds made VC venture capital, which is what funds tech, obsolete, because you could just ask for the funds you need for your artistic project or your organization or whatever it is from Seeds and receive that as a gift. And then we wouldn't even have to mess with the problems in the old system anymore. It doesn't mean that Seeds is a perfect solution. It comes with its own set of problems as we're evolving and, you know, progressing societally. But in my view, in many ways, it addresses a lot of what's wrong in the old system. So the mission here is just like let nice people know about what's going on in crypto, use the knowledge that I can bring in from my background as a pro stock trader who started buying Bitcoin in 2013, and spread the word about Seeds so that more people are using it, because the more people that use Seeds, the more people we can help. So that's what's up with that. Yeah, so in these sessions, what I like to do is just kind of, they're meant to be pretty informal. And I like to just kind of walk through and talk through the way I am actually thinking about the markets and how I actually approach the markets as a trader myself, specifically the cryptocurrency markets. Although, if something's going on in like the traditional markets that I'm aware of that I think is going to influence the crypto markets, I'm going to pay attention to that as well, of course. Excuse me. That's kind of a newer thing I had to share. Like, that wasn't the case in 2013, certainly, or even in 2017, which was so the Bitcoin halving that's coming up on April 19th. That's going to be the fourth Bitcoin halving. For those who don't know, that typically kicks off, historically, it's always kicked off the big cryptocurrency market cycles that we've seen in the past. And then we would typically see all-time highs a year or so after the Bitcoin halving. This particular cycle is unprecedented because we've already seen new all-time highs in Bitcoin before the halving has even happened, and it's broken all-time highs 4 times. So let's take a look at this graph real quick. I had another, that train of thought was supposed to go in a different direction and I lost the train of thought, so hopefully it'll come back to me. But yeah, whenever I'm going through and looking at the markets, I'll look at the news and I'll see what's going on with Bitcoin first. So since Bitcoin is like sort of the biggest news event that we have on the horizon, let's see what's up with this right now. So this is the Bitcoin graph on Gemini Active Trader, which is like the default centralized exchange that I'll use when I have to buy cryptocurrency with fiat currency like the US dollar. But for anyone who's not aware, it's really good, generally speaking, to get in and get out of these cryptocurrency exchanges as soon as you can, of these centralized exchanges. Make your purchase, get whatever cryptocurrency you want, and then get it off of the exchange and into a self-custody wallet that you control. if you've heard, as I'm sure y'all have, like the negative news that we've had in the past about cryptocurrency, something that's been really frustrating to me as the founder of a social good project in the cryptocurrency sector is that literally no article that I saw in the mainstream media or anywhere actually had the discernment to recognize that, like, for example, when like FTX failed, that was a big news event actually, because he was convicted or sentenced rather pretty recently. We could see if we could find that. Let me see. Conviction NYT. Yeah, so there was this. This is a news event, but it's already kind of old. I think this happened just as I was starting to meditate. So this guy like dominated the news cycle in with the recent downturn, and it was really annoying because the failure of his exchange was a failure of centralization. It had nothing to do with like deficiencies in cryptocurrency, deficiencies in good quality cryptocurrency design, but nobody knew that. Nobody at the publications like the New York Times or any other publication that I can recall coming across was reporting on that. So like when this dude failed, it was a big deal, and it was dominated the news cycle, as I said, for a while. And it was he failed for the same reason that banks failed during the Great Depression, for the same reason that Silicon Valley Bank, a tech bank that Seeds almost used and thankfully we didn't use like 10 years ago, they failed last year. And it's because of centralization and because these centralized entities have custody of our cryptocurrency when we use them, and they behave like banks. For anyone who doesn't know, what banks do is they'll take our deposits as consumers and they'll reinvest our deposits into something else that makes them more money, and they'll pay us whatever shitty like interest rate or shitty return. If it's like a checking account or something, maybe you're getting 0.5% a year, something terrible, and they're reinvesting our funds elsewhere and making much more than 0.5% a year. But if they're doing that in such a way that they're not they're not good at investing, they're not keeping the interest of the people that actually make their platform exist in mind, then things can go belly up. And that's what happened here. So they invested consumer deposits elsewhere. Consumers don't actually have custody of their funds on a centralized exchange. That's why a self-custody wallet is so important, because then you do have custody of your funds when you're storing your cryptocurrency in that. And that's why this failed. So literally, it's the same old story that we've seen for hundreds of years in terms of centralized bank failures. But unfortunately, it became a dominant narrative in the crypto sector, and it made a lot of the people that I know would resonate with Seeds, who would be into the idea of transcending capitalism and who want more funding for artists and for social good and for people with a lot of feminine energy, which is what Seeds is all about. Unfortunately, the word cryptocurrency got this like negative connotation. However, what's encouraging, I guess, is that has happened every single cryptocurrency cycle that I've seen since I started buying Bitcoin in 2013. There was a big collapse of a similar sort of exchange in 2014, for example, called Mt. Gox. It's just that with every cycle, more and more people in the mainstream are aware that cryptocurrency is a thing. And so therefore, it's more like widespread news each time. And we always want to protect ourselves from those bad actors that have shown themselves with each cryptocurrency cycle, especially like beginning right now, because, like, as I said, the Bitcoin halving, which is in roughly 11 days, has typically kicked off these cryptocurrency cycles. And what we'll see a lot of times is that as the bull market gains steam, which means as the market is heading up more and more, then more questionable projects invariably have shown themselves. We'll probably see a lot more meme coins because people haven't gotten more creative than like introducing something beyond that, which is interesting as like a sociological, anthropological thing. Uh, it has a lot to do with Doge being so popular in 2021 because of like Elon Musk tweeting about it and stuff. Even though the Doge founders were horrified. Particularly one of the co-founders, this dude that I knew a little bit, I hung out with a handful of times like 10 years ago. because we were in San Francisco and doing cryptocurrency things. And I've said this before, but like he's a socialist from Australia who made Doge as a joke. And he was just like, the fact that then like Elon Musk was like trying to pump it and was talking about it on SNL. And the New York Times, I remember, printed that Doge was Elon Musk cryptocurrency. Like they didn't realize that it wasn't his cryptocurrency. Yeah, so that poor guy Jackson was just like horrified about where that joke went. And then there are now a bunch of meme coin copycats because of that. So we're probably going to see more of those, and it's just a good idea, particularly now as things are just likely starting to ramp up, to just make sure you're being you have good practices in place to make sure you're taking care of your cryptocurrency and you're being savvy about which projects you're looking at. And yeah, you're just doing everything you need to do to make sure you're interacting with the sector in a safe way. So having a good quality self-custody wallet is an important part of that. I tend to use MetaMask, which has a Chrome plugin most often. It's not an ideal solution. I haven't ever had a problem with MetaMask, though. With any of these tools, you always want to make sure you're storing your private key or your mnemonic in a safe place offline. Some people have like safe deposit boxes even, or literally you can just like print it out or write it down and keep it somewhere safe. People will try to sell you hardware wallets sometimes. I've never had a need for a hardware wallet. You could do that if you want, but I haven't found that to be necessary. It's, you could end up investing those funds instead of buying a hardware wallet. You could invest those funds in cryptocurrencies that you're interested in instead. However, if you want extra security, a multi-sig wallet can be a good option. And I would say the best tool for that I'm aware of is probably Gnosis Safe, which I think they're just calling Safe now. So y'all can see that, right? Mayom's here. Wow. Y'all, I'm just looking at the chat right now. Interdependent study tuning in from Puerto Rico. I think I know who you are. That might be Kim. Mayam Mubuang is here from South Sudan. Oh, I have a chill. Thank you for coming. It's so cool. Mayam is an entrepreneur in South Sudan and Juba who got a gift from Seeds in, I think, December of 2016 to start a hygiene stall. And then he took it upon himself to teach people in his community how to use Seeds. And it's really cool. It's what I hope we could do in many more places around the world. And as a result, because of Mayam's initiative, our community at Seeds has been able to help many other people in his community in South Sudan. So yeah, it's really cool that you're here. Right on. Lisa says, excited to be here. Oh, hi, Lisa. Yeah, I honestly thought it was Elon's coin, Lisa says. Right? Yeah, because why wouldn't you think that? Because even the New York Times was wrong about it. So like, yeah, Russell says, hi, can't wait to learn trading and help the poor children in the Philippines learn basketball to help their family get out of poverty. That sounds great. Comet Senses wonder if Doge will go back up again. In my opinion, it feels like an old meme. Yeah, greetings everyone. Yeah, it is. What's funny though is like it was an old meme in like 2014, but then people didn't know that, or like they didn't correlate that with the fact that it was also a cryptocurrency. And then when Elon Musk was still popular and he was tweeting about this in 2021, people got on that bandwagon, and it was interesting, but it was also so misguided. So from my perspective, at least, it's been satisfying to see that like in the last few years, people seem to be waking up to the fact that Elon Musk is like not smart and is a huge loser dork. And so hopefully that type of influence isn't going to be a thing anymore, but still people seem to think that it's a good idea to create a meme coin, and try to get a bunch of people on those bandwagons. So yeah, I think Pepe, I want to say I'm not like super up on meme coins because it isn't an area that I'm interested in investing in. But sometimes you can make some money in them if you time it right and if you're paying attention to like what's going on in social media typically. So that can be a trade that you can try. But the reason I brought that up is that we're probably going to see more of that as the market continues up. through this cycle, assuming that it does, the same thing that it's done historically and that the Bitcoin halving has kicked things off. So Mayom says, thank you so much, Rachel. Seeds is wonderful venture for all. They're so sweet. Thanks, Mayom. I appreciate that. Indie Kid says, greetings, everyone. What's up? MA says, if you were going to invest in crypto for the first time right now, what would you do? Yeah, good question, MA. All right. So the thing that I always want to say here is that I'm, of course, biased. Every person you're going to ask is going to have their own biases that come into the decisions they're making about cryptocurrency or anything else they're investing in, of course. So whenever I teach our course, How to Build Abundance in Cryptocurrency is what we're now calling it. What I encourage folks to do is to get very clear on what their values are and what they hope to achieve more broadly in a financial sense, and then also with cryptocurrency trading specifically. So the reason for that is when you have that, and it literally can be as simple as like, I just want to make money. That is what it is for a lot of people. But if you haven't articulated what your values are and what your goals are, what can often happen is that you become a reactive trader. You hear something in the news or you see something on social media, and then it makes you think like, oh, I need to get into this right now. But often by the time you're seeing that in the news, there's this adage, buy the rumor, sell the news. The idea is that by the time it's in the news, the move has already happened. So if you're kind of getting in front of that and you're articulating your values and you're using those values to guide your research into what cryptocurrencies you would want to trade, then you can be proactive as a trader, which is invariably going to make you more profitable over time. So with that as a disclaimer, I'm always going to say Seeds because Seeds is our project and Seeds helps people in need. Beyond that, cheaper cryptocurrencies like Seeds. So if we have that pulled up, here's the price right now. So Seeds haven't moved much this cryptocurrency cycle so far. They're at just over 2 cents right now. I just sent out an email to our community about this, I don't know, a week and a half ago or a week ago or something. What I've seen happen every cryptocurrency cycle since this didn't really happen. Well, no, it did. It did happen in 2013. Cheaper cryptocurrencies have outperformed the more expensive cryptocurrencies, which are now obviously Bitcoin and Ether, every market cycle. So if you're able to get involved in a cheaper cryptocurrency that you believe in, just the data shows us that there's a likelihood that $1,000 in a cheaper cryptocurrency is probably going to get you a larger return than $1,000 put into Bitcoin at this stage. So you can keep an eye out for that and look for cheaper, good quality projects that you like. Yeah, I hope that doesn't sound vague. I don't mean to seem like I'm sidestepping that question or anything. But yeah, of course, I'm always going to say Seeds because that's our project, and Seeds also vastly outperformed Ether and Bitcoin in terms of price increase last time. But Seeds are still small. We have a small market. We don't have a ton of liquidity in our market. So there's that. So at the end of the day, you got to do what makes sense for you and what feels right for you and what resonates with your intuition and your understanding when you're making cryptocurrency trades. That's super important. Yeah, so here's the Bitcoin graph. So if we look here, we can see that this is varying intervals. So we can look at the chart and see data points at different time periods. And if we go back here, we can see that we had this jump today. This is April 8th. Happy solar eclipse, everybody. Because now I think we're 17 minutes into the solar eclipse. I think it started on at 11:07. Okay, so 11:07 Pacific time specifically. Let's zoom this out a little bit more just to check things out a little longer term. So this is the 1-day graph now. And I should say that the reason I typically start out by checking Bitcoin and seeing what's going on is because it's, for right or wrong, I would say that it actually doesn't really make sense that this is still the case to the extent that it is, which is to say that Bitcoin still has a huge influence on the cryptocurrency sector as a whole. That's why paying attention to the Bitcoin halving coming up on April 19th is helpful because it's shown us in the past that not only does it have an enormous impact on the price of Bitcoin, it's sent the price of Bitcoin up substantially. It's also sent up the prices of cryptocurrencies in the sector at large. So Bitcoin still is very influential. And like for example, if we look at these graphs, I'm going to pull up the Ether graph as well. Ether's the second largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization. So we can see like how similar these graphs look. Here's the Ether graph on the day interval, zoomed out a bit. And can we tell that this looks... It won't like hold my zoom. But yeah, I think you can get a sense that the graphs are pretty similar looking. So paying attention to what's going on in Bitcoin is just sort of like a barometer for what's going on in the crypto sector generally. So checking this out, these were all-time highs. Most recently, it looks like right around March 12th, March 13th. It got up to close to $74,000 a coin. So here now we can use what's called technical analysis to an extent, which is just a way of looking at the graphs and kind of gleaning information from the graphs to help us make decisions about where and when we want to trade once we know what cryptocurrencies we want to trade. So I haven't personally traded Bitcoin in a long time, as many of you know, because I think that other cryptocurrencies are more interesting. And like I said earlier, you know, if you put $1,000 into Bitcoin and you put $1,000 into a cheap, good quality cryptocurrency, we've seen this likelihood that the cheaper cryptocurrency is going to outperform. So I've just found that investing in not Bitcoin has been not only more profitable, but it's more aligned with my values at this point. Bitcoin has, if you've ever heard criticisms about like the environmental issues surrounding cryptocurrency and energy consumption issues, that criticism is largely lobbied at Bitcoin because Bitcoin requires mining, what's called mining. And miners at this stage in the game use a lot of electricity. But I have a video on here you can watch actually if you feel like it about the environmental impact of crypto. It's not a fair comparison, I would say, because people have freaked out about that. It's not that it's a totally invalid concern, but it should be compared. Like Bitcoin's meant to be a global cryptocurrency, and it is a global cryptocurrency. So if we're making that criticism, it should be compared to the energy consumed by the entire traditional banking system at large, with its 180 different fiat currencies that are, you know, like printing paper money and making coinage, that have brick and mortar financial institutions, governmental financial institutions, brick and mortar banks. Like when you frame it in that way, which I think is what makes for the obvious fair assessment, like there's no comparison. But that said, there is concern surrounding mining. Like with each halving, they're cutting the reward generated by each block on the blockchain in half. That's why it's called the halving or the halvening. So that then means that more computing power is required to generate comparable rewards. So it's actually the halving that by design has meant that we've needed more computing power to mine, to generate cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, which require mining over time. So that's maybe some useful knowledge for you. But cryptocurrencies like Ether, for example, don't require mining. Seeds doesn't require mining. Doge does require mining. As that criticism has grown, more cryptocurrencies have moved away from that model. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, that's a long-winded way of saying I haven't traded Bitcoin in a long time, but I still want to check the price. So when we're looking at this and we're thinking about things from a technical analysis standpoint, something you can do, something that you can see at a glance, is that if things are moving around, but it's making higher highs and higher lows, so like here, when it pulls back, it's not pulling back as far as it did here. This is a higher low. That can be an indication that things are trending back up, but it hasn't made a higher high yet, right? It's trading at almost $72,000 a coin right now, though. So, I mean, you know, all-time highs most recently are not quite 74. So I'm interested to see if this is going to break highs again here pretty soon. So we can look at a closer graph. a graph at a narrower time interval. And we can see that a lot of this happened starting this morning, as mentioned earlier. So that's interesting. And we've got a bit of a pullback right now. So if I were trading Bitcoin, looking at this, I'm thinking like, I know the halving is 11 days away. And I know that historically, the halving has kicked off the huge market movements that have resulted in new all-time highs roughly a year after the halving. Previous halvings have taken place, right? I've seen, that the price has dipped a bit here. I'm kind of wishing that I would have bought it, like when it dipped further down, maybe below 68. Yo, it got back down to 65 even a little below 65,000 here. So this probably would, if you were being a proactive Bitcoin trader, this would have likely been a great time to buy. I mean, we can already see that it's made a significant increase since it hit this area, which was April 2nd, my birthday, last week. So what I'm trying to say, though, is that, we have this historical data that shows us that the halving has catalyzed the market and sent it back upward. So since the halving hasn't happened yet, I would be looking for pullbacks like these to try and load up and buy more, because I can make the assumption that it's probably going to head up after the halving. And that would probably be, like nothing is guaranteed. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results, but it stands to reason that that's going to happen. Also, good to know for anyone not aware is that, so some of y'all have heard me say this probably in the past. So as I mentioned earlier in this talk, even Bitcoin has broken all-time highs 4 times already this year in 2024, even though the halving hasn't happened yet, and that's unprecedented. It's a huge deal. The reason that that has happened, I would say almost the exclusive reason, is that in the US, they introduced a Bitcoin ETF, exchange traded fund, in January. An ETF is basically like a stock resting on the price of Bitcoin. So that made it possible for mainstream investors who are maybe too scared of cryptocurrency or found it too overwhelming to actually trade cryptocurrency, they could get involved in Bitcoin more easily. So that sent the price up. We have there's a likelihood, it's not certain though, that there's going to be an Ethereum ETF launching in May in the US. If that doesn't work out, I just saw a news article that stated that, like, if it isn't approved in the US, then there's going to be a long legal battle because if it isn't approved, it'll be because of securities related issues and the lack of clarity in terms of regulation surrounding that in the United States. It looks like that's going to happen eventually, though, and it could happen as soon as May. And then beyond that, there's a scheduled London Stock Exchange introduction of a Bitcoin ETN and an Ether ETN on May 28th. So what I'm trying to say is that all of that information, so like the past performance of Bitcoin and the crypto sector at large after the halving, plus the fact that we're seeing this mainstream introduction more formally into the world of cryptocurrency and these events coming up in May, that just tells me like, yo, I want to try to buy dips and get in as much as I can and put in as much as I can afford now-ish, because all of these indicators seem to be pointing toward the idea that it's going to head up. So there's my thinking on that. MA says, is it worth it to buy Ether right now? I think yes, absolutely. Tintop says hit that like button. Thank you, Tintop. I appreciate that. Yeah, so let's look at Ether now. As I said before, it's the second largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization, which just means that the total value of all Bitcoin is its market capitalization. It's the number one crypto by price, in terms of price and market capitalization. The total value of all Ether is number 2. Its market cap is number 2 right now. I've said this many times before, but I'm a believer that something called the flippening has a likelihood of happening in the future. It's defined 2 different ways. I've seen it defined 2 different ways. In the first definition, there's this belief that Ether will overtake Bitcoin in market capitalization. And then I've also seen the flippening defined as the moment when Ether overtakes Bitcoin in price. I think there's a likelihood that that will happen because of Ether's design, because of the Ethereum network's design, in that Bitcoin was not designed to make it easy for software engineers to build projects on top of the Bitcoin network, but Ether was, Ethereum was. And after Ethereum was introduced, many other cryptocurrency networks tried to do the same thing because it's a good idea. And back in like 2021-ish, if you took our course in 2021, maybe you were paying attention to some of the other crypto networks that were like that. Cardano is one. Pulse Chain, I think, literally just forked Ethereum. There's so many. Phantom was another. Binance Smart Chain was an especially low quality copycat version. I would not suggest using Binance Smart Chain. Um, yeah, just off the top of my head, there are a handful. There were so many that were effectively like Ethereum copycats, and it made a lot of sense in that Ethereum got very expensive to use. The transaction costs became insane, and that makes it prohibitive for us to actually make trades on the network, right? So other crypto networks were introduced and they were like, yo, we're cheaper. You should use us because it's way cheaper to use us. And that's a legit thing, right? That's valid. I try to check my ego when I was looking at those projects because I was always more like Ethereum just feels better intuitively. It feels better to me. The energy feels better. It feels more feminine. I've said this before, but like I remember going to Ethereum events in San Francisco in like 2017, and one was about like consciousness and like the future of money and consciousness. Maybe that sounds too whatever as I'm saying it now, but going to that event, I was just like, it was so awesome. It was so like, I was just like, wow, I'm here at a place and time in San Francisco in 2017 at an Ether event that feels like it's of this place and time in history. No other project that copied Ethereum's approach has had that energy in my estimation. Nothing else has felt that way. And now, like years later, after the 2021 peak, when we saw so many of those copycats, we hear less about them now. I mean, there are certainly other projects that are introducing their own blockchains, like Starknet is one that we're hearing more about more recently. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is that, and what I would suggest that you do as a trader is check in to see if it feels right to you. I still favor Ether. I still think that Ether, certainly while it has its flaws, it's working to address those flaws periodically. They just had an update, the Denkun update on March 13th. I did a live that day too. So, I mean, yeah, I still think Ether is where it's at with all its flaws. And I think that this thing called the flippening is likely to happen. So that's a long-winded way of answering your question to say that, yeah, I think it's probably a good idea, in my view, to load up on Ether if you can. Ether has not broken its all-time highs yet this cycle, even though Bitcoin has 4 times, as I mentioned. So like that's another, indicator to my mind that this Bitcoin ETF that was introduced in January in the US was the driver of Bitcoin's price, but we haven't seen that in Ether yet. So, like if we do get this Ether ETF in May, that seems to suggest that there'll be even greater momentum driving Ether up. So Ether's all-time highs, although this graph won't show it because it only goes back about a year. So yeah, we can see this is the change in Ether price that we've seen over the last year. It did get up to about $4,100 a coin. Its all-time highs are around $4,800 a coin or so. So yeah, and you can, check this out like we talked about a little bit ago when we're using technical analysis. If we see that what looks to be a slightly higher low is showing up, like it pulled back again here, it made this relative low here, retraced, pulled back again, but it made a higher low, that can be an indicator that things are heading up. But it hasn't made this, well, it's pretty close, but it looks like relatively this is a higher high than what we saw here. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're not able to check the markets a bunch of times a day, as most of us aren't because we have other responsibilities, just setting something up like DCA, dollar cost averaging, can be uh, a good option. MA says, thank you. I'm a crypto novice, so that information is helpful. You're very welcome. I hope it wasn't too long-winded. Yeah, and feel free to ask me to elaborate in any areas you'd like me to. Yeah, but DCA, dollar cost averaging, can be a really good option if you've been able to determine the cryptocurrencies that you want to be involved in. But you don't have the time or energy, or you don't feel like you've garnered the skills yet to actively trade. You can just set it and forget it with DCA. You can do that on most. Is that true? You can do that on at least several centralized cryptocurrency exchanges at this point. I know you can on Coinbase. I'm not certain that you can on Gemini yet, though, actually. I believe you can on Kraken. I wouldn't suggest using Binance, so I'm not even sure if they have this as an option. But what you can do is you can just say, like, okay, I've looked at my finances. I know that I have $200 that I can put into buying cryptocurrency each month. And then you can just go on those platforms and set it up so that they're debiting your account on whatever day of the month. And you're getting that cryptocurrency. And if you like helping people in need, you can also do a version of that with seeds. I'll show you for folks who aren't familiar. But this is like DCA. You can just choose to make a recurring gift. And I think several people who are on our live today have made gifts to seeds in the past. So thank you very much if you have. Yeah, so you can just choose like a weekly, monthly, or annual giving option, and you'll get Seeds cryptocurrency in thanks. But at the same time, 100% of the value of your gift is going to go to help somebody in need. And there are other bonuses if you give for longer periods of time. So that's a way to DCA. I mean, you could swap the seeds for other cryptocurrencies if you want to do that. And there's nothing else out there, to my knowledge, that allows you to do this, to invest in this way while helping people in need at the same time, certainly to this extent where 100% of the value of your gift is going to go to folks who could use some help. So yeah, you can do that if you want. I feel like, should we look at the news a little bit more? Did anyone see any news in the last, while I was meditating? I did work some while I was meditating. I was trying to integrate work and meditation with more meditation than I've ever done before. But I didn't like check the news or look at what's going on in cryptocurrency. So yeah, like I said earlier, if anyone saw big cryptocurrency news in like the last week and a half while I was meditating, let me know. I was checking this out earlier. So when I do this, I'll typically use our Discord because we just happen to put together this news aggregator channel that I've actually found to be more useful than any other news tool I've found. So we go here, we can check this out. Here, I'll link this in our chat. Yeah, so you can just go to the news channel here if you feel like it. And it pulls news from, there's like Google alerts, as you can see, for the word cryptocurrency. So that should cover just about everything. Here's another article about Sam Bankman-Fried's sentencing. He got 25 years, y'all. That's white collar criminals like that usually aren't getting a sentence like that. So yeah. Yeah, I saw that Coinbase had won a lawsuit that was related to securities legislation. They won a lawsuit that I think it was in an appellate court, that like it was upheld that it wasn't a securities violation to sell cryptocurrency secondhand on an exchange. Coinbase actually has their own cryptocurrency, USDC, though. So I don't know how that in a legal sense is going to interact with. I mean, they're selling USDC on their platform too. But anything that's about clarifying securities legislation in the US in the cryptocurrency realm is good. It's good for us to have that. We need that information, and it's hindered innovation in the US because of that lack of clarity. And I mean, as much as like I am not a fan of a lot of these big centralized cryptocurrency exchanges like Coinbase has treated people like shit for 14 years. No, they're not that old. They were founded in 2012. 12 years. They just don't treat customers well, which I'm sure some of y'all have experienced too. I even have sorry for complaining about this so much, but this is kind of, I feel like this illustrates the point. But like, so when I started buying Bitcoin in 2013, it was on Coinbase because there were only like really two-ish, three-ish platforms in the US where you could buy crypto at that time, give or take. And there was an error on their platform that resulted in mine not getting filled, not receiving some of the Bitcoin that I bought. And it's like I could sense that it was going to happen. And then it happened. And then their customer service was terrible. And they didn't get back to me for like a month. And then they just didn't fix the error. So I think it would have been thousands of Bitcoin in 2013. So that could have been lots and lots of money today. And they just didn't give a shit. And then Seeds and Coinbase actually share an investor, this other person who I'm not a huge fan of, who's in the crypto sector. Anyway, so like I was in a bar in San Francisco in 2014 and I saw the founder of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong. And so like we had this connection and I went up and talked to him and I was like, yo, like this happened and Coinbase like screwed me out of these thousands of dollars in Bitcoin. Like, what the hell? And his response was like, he said, that was a really hard time in my life. Like, he didn't care about the impact on other people. His first response was to think about himself. And then he sent me $10 worth of Bitcoin on Coinbase's platform. So I think a lot about this idea of like founders of tech organizations or of any sort of group or community and the way their issues show up in the thing that they built, and that lack of care for the people who, like, if people don't use Coinbase, it can't exist, right? The fact that they don't care about consumers to that extent, like, it still shows up in their product today. So I'm trying to say, like, I don't like Coinbase. But they have a fuck ton of money now. And with the way the world still is designed, somebody like that who can afford to pay lawyers a bunch of money to fight these securities related court cases. I mean, they're doing it, of course, in their own self interest, but it's also good for the sector as a whole. So, yeah, there's that too. Um, Chainalysis. That's an organization that went through Techstars with Seeds in 2015. So we knew those guys. But yeah, I didn't really see, again, correct me if I'm wrong or, if something happened last week that I missed, but I didn't see a ton of tradable news. It just looks like we're kind of waiting for the halving to happen. Bitcoin halving in 11 days. Here's how it will impact the BTC mining costs. Yeah, this is maybe worth clicking on because this shows us that, as I mentioned earlier, when the halving happens, the reward that is generated when each block on the blockchain is mined is cut in half. So that means that in order for miners in the Bitcoin ecosystem to remain profitable, the Bitcoin price has to rise. This is part of how like Bitcoin is meant to be deflationary by design, in that, there are only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin in total. Unlike every fiat currency in the world, like for example, the US dollar, which is inflationary because governments can just print more of the money whenever they want to, as they see fit. There's an unlimited supply, which is another reason that, like, in our course, How to Build Abundance in Cryptocurrency, I talk about value, the concept of value, and the fact that money isn't real. It's all made up. Much of it was made up by white men, you know, what, 250-ish years ago. I mean, the British banking system, I don't know how old it is. It's much older than that. In the US, we kind of just replicated what the British were doing. And I think it was this mistake. I was watching John Adams on HBO. If you'd ever seen that miniseries that's based on the David McCullough book of the same name. And it showed this meeting of like the founding fathers of the US when they're, like inventing the most recent iteration of democracy or whatever. And there was this discussion about like, well, should we actually, like, why are we just doing the same thing the British do when it comes to banking? And this sort of conscious decision to do that, which seems like a missed opportunity. They could have like reimagined the banking system in some way back then as well, but they chose not to do that. But they didn't have the technology, obviously, that we have today. So the introduction of good quality decentralized tools that eliminate the need for centralized entities like governments to generate money, to print dollars. I mean, it's a huge fucking deal, y'all. I mean, it's like it's going to be I'm convinced it's going to be, like one of, if not the, we'll say one of the most important technological advancements that'll happen in my lifetime, I think. And it's still super early. We're still really early in the day. So when that's the case, I think what matters is making sure you're involved, making sure you're pulling the trigger and getting involved. And that's a big part of, like I said, why I'm trying to do these talks, why I think it's important to be having these conversations now. Invariably, I was thinking about this earlier today. What's going to happen is that I'll be talking about this now, and maybe people will start to hear it. And again, like I said earlier, with every cryptocurrency cycle, more people in the mainstream become aware of cryptocurrency and get involved, which also drives prices up for us, obviously, right? If more people are buying. What's invariably going to happen, though, and this is why markets move the way they do, is that people probably won't really pay attention yet, even though Bitcoin's already broken highs 4 times this year alone. But they'll start really paying attention, once it's really going up, maybe we'll see, 6 to 12 months from now. And that always kind of breaks my heart in a way, because like I said, like the mission of Seeds is to give more resourcing to nice people, to artists, to people working in social good, to people with a lot of feminine energy, so that you have more ability to do what you're already doing, which is making the world a better place. And that's why I want folks like that to be paying attention now and to be getting involved now when it looks perhaps less certain, because that's when the prices are lower and that's when you're going to benefit more. So yeah, I mean, like I said, invariably, it's not going to happen for most people. Most people won't pay attention until in the future when things are really going crazy. I remember actually last cycle, there was a New Yorker article, and the first few sentences said something like, "You've ignored cryptocurrency, or you've reluctantly paid attention to cryptocurrency." The point was that the article in the New Yorker was addressing people who kind of hated cryptocurrency and had tried to ignore it. But at that stage in the cycle, it had reached a point where it seemed like you couldn't ignore it anymore. And that's what the bummer of it is. Not that Seeds is trying to talk to people, like the New Yorker user base and the Seeds user base don't necessarily perfectly overlap, but it's just always like that. So what I'm trying to say is, if that describes you, and you probably are that, if you've felt compelled to come to a chat that I'm giving, I just really want to encourage you, don't ever do anything that doesn't resonate with your understanding and with what feels intuitively right for you. But I want to tell you that, as somebody who started buying Bitcoin in 2013, who was so excited in 2013 to be a part of something that I saw could had the potential to transcend the misogyny and the discrimination that I personally experienced in the legacy financial system, as a professional stock trader. But so many of us have experienced it. It discriminates against so many of us. And I want us to take advantage of these new technologies that can allow us to, it's like that Buckminster Fuller quote that I like. He was the futurist from the 20th century. He was American, and he said that, the way to change things isn't to fight the existing system. To change things, build a new system that renders the old system obsolete. And we have that ability now, I think, particularly with tools like Seeds, to come together to build a new type of system that allows us to build wealth through helping others. And that old system can just do whatever it does, and the parts of it that aren't going to sustain aren't going to sustain. We don't have to concern ourselves with fighting it, because that's also a form of perpetuating it. It's putting energy into the perpetuation of those systems. So yeah, please get involved in some way. That's what I'm trying to say. If you're one of those folks, but don't just listen to me, of course. Only do it if it feels right for you. Yeah, so related to that, we have a course coming up. I always feel uncomfortable with selling, but I have to get over myself, because the course is effectively free because you receive Seeds cryptocurrency and thanks. But then also beyond that, it supports seeds. Like the course is what sustains seeds, so the 100% of the value of gifts that come through the seeds ecosystem can go to folks in need. So if you're wanting to come together and learn more about trading in a group setting, and you want to do that with us, then that would be amazing. And our doors for that close on April 20th. It was designed to coincide with the Bitcoin halving. So that link is in the chat too. And I'll take a look at the chat. Actually, let me. Yeah. MA says, oh, look, a lot of nice people are here. Hi, yes, nice to see you. Will this be recorded and on your channel? Interested but can't watch now. Thanks. Yes, it will be. You might already be gone, but yeah, I started a playlist on my channel for live trading sessions too, so you can check those out in the playlist as well if you feel like doing that. MA says, what platform would you use? I have Coinbase right now. Ugh. I mean, Coinbase, like I don't, even though I don't like them and I don't think they're great people who care about other human beings particularly, I think their product is fine. Coinbase has never had any issues with product quality to my knowledge, unlike Binance, for example. So, I mean, I tend to think about centralized exchanges like Coinbase as sort of like you got to go with like the least worst option. And Coinbase is a least worst option. I tend to use Gemini, which is what I was showing you earlier. Gemini Active Trader. Yes, I can show you that again real quick. And I even have like a promo code for Gemini, but Gemini isn't good either. Like they're also shitty. I'm actually pursuing like a lawsuit against them because they screwed me out of 27.5 Ether several years ago. And yeah, I'm hoping to get that back. This looks weird with just my face right there, but yeah. So I usually use Gemini. And part of the reason is that I think their graphs are better. Yeah, least worst. I also use Kraken sometimes, Kraken. So that can be an option too. But yeah, again, since the function is trying to just get in, get out, and then get your cryptocurrency into a self-custody wallet, you can just kind of go with whatever seems like it's going to achieve that for you. And you should be okay as long as it's a good enough quality platform in terms of the product, which I think Coinbase and Gemini are. Yeah, hopefully that helps. Lisa says, can you talk about staking your seeds if you have time? Yeah, totally. It's almost noon my time, but I don't want to go too much over an hour, but yeah, I'd be totally happy to talk about staking. So let's see. I do have Uniswap pulled up here. So this is Uniswap, which is like the leading decentralized cryptocurrency trading platform out there. It's built on top of Ethereum, and there are certainly other decentralized platforms that you can use. Oh yeah, by the way, speaking of news, I saw that 1inch, which is like an aggregator platform, it lets you trade on a variety of different exchanges, including Uniswap, I believe. They're introducing like a crypto debit card. So that's another, I think it's worth mentioning because, if more people are using cryptocurrency in these other ways, there's more energy going toward mainstream adoption. That said, though, I had a crypto debit card like I think 7 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. It was an Ether debit card. Actually, I had two, one for multiple cryptocurrencies and one just for Ether. And they never worked. Like the companies that made them discontinued them. I'm sure it was because gas fees were too high. And, people didn't want to, because like when you're making a trade, when you're making a transaction with a crypto debit card, the way they've worked in the past is that it would just immediately trade your crypto for fiat currency, and then the vendor would receive fiat currency. So, I mean, people didn't want to do that if it was going to cost a fuck ton of money to trade their crypto. And, it just wasn't sustainable in that way. So I didn't look closely enough at the news to see if they found another solution to get around that. I mean, they could maybe hold cryptocurrency and then do what centralized exchanges do, where you're not actually transacting on the blockchain, and then it's cheaper. But then you wouldn't then they would have custody of your funds. Anyway, I'm just sharing that because it did seem like it was relevant news. Okay, so Lisa wanted to have me take a look at staking. So in a nutshell, this is like a whole other conversation, and I have videos on my channel about staking that you can check out if you want, including like demonstrations and stuff. Some of them are pretty old now. It was like one thing that made me realize I should start paying more attention to YouTube, because some of my old staking videos that are like so lo-fi actually get consistent views even now. So it was like, okay, cool. People are searching for this on YouTube, so I should spend more time on YouTube. So when you're staking, what's really exciting about it is that it allows us to democratically come together, more democratically anyway, come together to build a market together, so that a handful of rich, typically white men in the US, for example, aren't necessary in order to make an exchange run. The example I use a lot is Gemini is co-founded by the Winklevoss twins. If you've ever seen The Social Network, they sued Facebook and got $65 million and put like $11 million of it into Bitcoin in like 2013. So they were billionaires by 2017, and they created Gemini, this exchange. The reason we've needed rich men to back these exchanges is because they had the capital to allow people to make trades in a frictionless way. They would put up the capital for the exchanges, because you can't use an exchange if there isn't enough Bitcoin or whatever you want to trade on the exchange for everybody to make trades, right? So these rich people could put up that capital to allow for relatively frictionless trading. What Uniswap discovered and invented that is it's really fucking cool, was a way for us to not need that because we can stake our cryptocurrency in pairs on their platform to create enough liquidity to allow traders to make trades. And then we get paid fees for having done that. And we retain custody of our funds. We use a self-custody wallet when we connect to Uniswap at the same time. And then when you stake, it also makes you often eligible for surprise airdrops. I just got another one for like $3,400 in January because I'd staked. There was a huge one in late 2020, which was, I was kicking myself because I didn't stake everything I had. And if I had, I could have like bought like a nice house, no joke. So yeah, staking is worth doing. When you're staking in the seeds pool, it's what allows seeds to help people in need around the world. So Lisa, I don't know if you need a demonstration exactly. I can do that real quick. So when you're on Uniswap's platform, the first thing you want to do is connect your wallet over here. I'm connecting with MetaMask. See if I can do this without taking up a ton of time. And if you're going to stake in the Seeds Ether pool, we also have additional rewards that you can win because we want to incentivize people to stake. You have to find seeds in the menu here. It's not going to show up because it's not, we tried to get them to make us like an official cryptocurrency on their platform, and they were assholes. So we stopped expending energy on that. So even though their solution's good, the energy isn't great. So you have to, if you ever can't immediately find a cryptocurrency, whether it's seeds or any other cryptocurrency on Uniswap, and it's an ether-based cryptocurrency like seeds is, you have to search for it using its contract address. So this is the seeds FAQ, so you can find the contract address here. So we can go here and search with that. Here's seeds. It's going to give you a warning because we're not officially on their platform. Yeah, so there's that. And you want to pool. You want to create a new liquidity pool if you're staking. So let's see if we're in the pool now. Nope. So we still have to use the contract address. Okay. So just quickly, there's complexity here, and there are sort of like more advanced strategies that you can look at when staking. They're probably going to be more appropriate for bigger liquidity pools than the Seeds Ether liquidity pool, because the big liquidity pools, there's just more trade volume. So there's more that you can do. So you're going to select the 0.3% fee tier. And here you're setting a price range. If you just want to set it and forget it, you can make the price range wide. This gray line here is the current price of seeds in Ether. And I'm going to bring this in here. If you make the range narrower, you can leverage your capital more efficiently and earn more in fees. But again, that's probably only going to make sense in a larger cryptocurrency pool, like for example, the Bitcoin Ether pool, um, where there's more trade volume, as I said, so that you're earning more in fees. With seeds, you're not earning that much in fees yet because we're still small. But as we grow, there's a likelihood that trade volume will grow as well and you'll earn more in fees. And as I said, at the same time, this staking often makes you eligible for airdrops and it can make you eligible for other bonuses too. So yeah, you just set your range and then it'll tell you what deposit amount here you're going to want to use. This is kind of annoying because it like doesn't help you to predict this very well. In that, like previous versions of Uniswap, you could choose a 1-to-1 ratio. So like if you wanted to stake $200 in seeds, you would stake $200 in Ether at the same time. When they introduced version 3, which is the version we're looking at here, with this, which lets you set this range, that changes the math so that you're staking varying quantities of Ether and seeds depending on what this range is. So like you can see here, the deposit amount is going to change depending on what the range is. So yeah. So I mean, if you set a wide range, as I stated, it's likelier to stay. I think I didn't state it this way. Actually, if you set a wider range, it's likelier to stay within range, which means you're going to continue earning fees and you wouldn't have to stake and restake to come back into range. So it's just up to you, depending on what you want to do. And then you would just need to make sure that this amount of Ether and this amount of seeds is in your connected wallet. And you're also going to need some money in Ether to cover the gas fees to stake, which can be really annoying. And this is a whole other conversation, but there are what are called L2 solutions now, layer 2 solutions that are meant to, like, Ethereum has a main net and it's like considered to be layer 1. And then these layer 2 solutions are built on top of Ethereum's main net as another attempt at offering a solution to the problem of high transaction cost, especially when the market's going up a lot. Gas costs are higher because gas is paid in Ether. And if Ether's getting more expensive and the network's more busier, then it's going to be more expensive to transact. So yeah, there are other things you can do. You can stake on layer 2 ecosystems as well. This pool is on the mainnet. The Seeds Ether pool is on the mainnet. But yeah, like I said, if you just have seeds sitting in your wallet, if you just have Ether sitting in your wallet, like truly you might as well stake. Don't be like me and just not stake and then later realize you could have bought a house because if you had staked, I mean, we're not seeing bonuses that huge in recent years. That was in 2020 that happened. But it really kind of is like hiding cash under your mattress if you have seeds and Ether just chilling in your wallet and you're not staking. It's of course not without risk. You still want to make sure you're being very careful about, like, make sure you're connecting to the correct website. We've had people who tried to stake in the past get scammed because they didn't connect to the correct website. They didn't go to app.uniswap.org and then they connected their wallets and it was a scam website and they unknowingly authorized the website to drain their wallets. So be really, 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 really careful about that and always be careful about, keeping your key and your mnemonic for that wallet safe. This can be another instance where a multi-sig wallet like Gnosis Safe, which I showed earlier, can be a good option because even if somebody compromises one of the wallets in a multi-sig wallet, it requires a signature from typically two or more wallets. So that can be another way to protect yourself. Gnosis Safe again was that. Now it's just calling itself safe. But yeah, that's another option. All right, it's 12:09. I hope that helps. I'll look at the chat here a little bit more again. And go back to the course registration page. Oh, I should say one last thing. We're doing it's a promotion, I guess, but I hate that word. But if you're one of the next, we have 8 spots left. If you're one of the next 8 people to sign up for our course, How to Build Abundance in Cryptocurrency, if you want, we can have a one-on-one session where we talk about your cryptocurrency goals and any questions you have. and I can provide support in that way. So we're going to do that for the next 8 folks who sign up, if that resonates with you. All right, y'all. Let me see if there are any more questions. Okay. Yeah, we got a bunch in the chat. Cool. Sorry, y'all. This lag is kind of a pain. Okay. Chat. Okay. So hopefully I answered Lisa's question. Geo says, I need to get a wallet. Is there one or two you can recommend? Yeah, Geo, I said this earlier in our session. If this is new to you, so there are 2 things to consider. You need to have a self-custody wallet, and you also want to have an account on a centralized exchange for purchasing cryptocurrency with fiat currency like the GBP or the US dollar or whatever currency you use. I typically use MetaMask self-custody wallet and the Coinbase self-custody wallet, not to be confused with Coinbase's other products. You know it's a self-custody wallet if you have access to the key or the mnemonic device for that wallet. If you're not provided with the key or the mnemonic, it's not self-custody. Somebody else has custody of your funds. So that's how you know for sure it's self-custody. Exclusive access, to be clear. You should be the only one who has access to that key or that mnemonic. In terms of centralized exchanges, I typically use Gemini Active Trader because I think they're like the least worst, arguably, even though like I'm literally in a lawsuit with them right now because they screwed me over. So that just shows you how not great, like even the least worst centralized exchanges like that. So, I mean, none of them are good, but yeah, that's what I typically use. Geo says, I love the idea that there's a system by which folks in need can benefit from the creation of abundance, namely seeds. But how much actual money is going to these folks, say, annually? Well, it depends on the givers. Thank you for the compliment too, by the way. So that's another thing we've been trying to figure out because, like, with the cryptocurrency market cycles, seeds gave away in 2021. It was our largest year to date, and that was also the peak of the last cryptocurrency market cycle. And I believe, off the top of my head, I'd have to check, I believe we gave away something like close to $300,000 because that was the amount that was coming in gifts. And we give 100% of the value of gifts that come in to people in need. As the market came back down with the cryptocurrency cycle, with the market cycle, last year it was a fraction of that. I don't even think we gave away, I want to say $50,000 last year. And again, we're giving away 100% of the value of the gifts that come in, but we didn't have as many gifts coming in. So a struggle for us has been like, should we just stop using the word cryptocurrency? Because like, especially with the backlash, y'all, like I'd be going on social media and trying to talk about like getting us out of this system. And then like, I'd have to deal with the normal, like, I hate that it's normal, but it is like the normal shitty, toxic, misogynistic energy where like people are just cruel to me because I'm a woman. And then also I'd have like environmentalists or people that would really, if they understood what Seeds was offering, who would be likely to resonate with the message of Seeds, just being totally turned off because the word cryptocurrency was used. So like something we've had to try to figure out is like, how can we get away from, like, we should still build abundance if we can and draw in more gifts when cryptocurrency is going up and get those benefits so we can help more people out. But like, I don't want to be so tethered to that market cycle. You know what I'm saying? So that's the other conversation. Yeah. And the other thing, Geo, is like you can literally go on the blockchain and you can see when seeds are being dispersed. So that can give you a sense of gifts that are going out, of seeds that are being sent to givers, because we send seeds cryptocurrency to people when they help others in need. So that's all available on the blockchain and you can view it. So there's that. Comet Sense says, Cardano has very good vibes. I'm a big fan. It's boring in terms of price, but I think it'll go the distance and doing a lot of social good. Yeah, I mean, that's another reason I think it's important, as I said earlier, to define your values and your goals and go with what resonates with you, right? Like in my view, I'm not into Cardano. I think that I know that they're at least getting publicity about doing work in Africa. I don't know the extent of those projects, But the dude, Charlie, the founder, the energy, I've just never resonated with it. Like, it's too, it's not toxically masculine in my view, but there's something there that it overly intellectualizes to an extent that's detrimental. There's some factor in there that I think isn't quite right. And also, my understanding is that, I mean, the Cardano founder was also a co founder of Ethereum. There were like 8 co founders of Ethereum. And he left because he wanted to, as I understand, create a cryptocurrency which had a sort of more corporatized approach. He wanted to take in corporate funding and stuff. And I feel that in their vibe. Like, Ethereum didn't do that. So in my opinion, like I don't resonate with the energy of Cardano, but if you do, that's fucking great. It's great that you've thought about it and that you've determined that for yourself. And yeah, I mean, it's gone up in the past. I've traded ADA, which is their cryptocurrency in the past, and made money in it. So yeah, certainly there could be more profitability potential there for sure. Um, Interdependent study. You're sharing information people can use. Don't shy away. Thank you. I think I know who you are, and I think you've encouraged me in the past, and I appreciate it. Yes, is still here. Awesome. MA says, what is a self-custody wallet? So hopefully I explained that more so after you posted this. A self-custody wallet is a wallet that allows you to hold custody of your funds. What we're just totally used to, because it's the way the banking system works, is giving custody of our money to a bank, right? If we go and make a deposit at a bank, we're giving them our money and then they have custody of it. And that is okay as long as they don't fuck something up. But in the past, certainly during the Great Depression, but as recently as, like last year when Silicon Valley Bank failed. And this is also the reason that FTX failed and Voyager failed and Celsius failed and BlockFi, these other cryptocurrency projects that were centralized. Those failures happened because they had custody of people's funds and then they invested them poorly, essentially. So when we're using self-custody wallets, we have custody of our funds and we're not in that danger. So it's always probably going to be the best idea for you to keep your money in a self-custody wallet. And you can also stake using a self-custody wallet. And again, we know it's a self-custody wallet if we have exclusive access to the key for that wallet and or the mnemonic for that wallet. And the self-custody wallets that I typically use are MetaMask and Coinbase wallet, neither of which are perfect, but for years now they've worked. They've been okay enough for me. Your screen isn't sharing. You might have another screen selected. Hopefully it's working now. Lisa says, this is great info. Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa helped people out. I hope you don't mind me shouting you out. Lisa helped folks before she redeemed a seed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that's not your pronoun. Lisa redeemed a seed to get some funds to help kids in Kenya go to school. And that was fulfilled. I think it was for 3 kids in Kenya, and Lisa redeemed the seed. So we got enough money for them. I think it paid for their entire education, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you for doing that, Lisa. Hopefully my screen's not fucked up now. I apologize if it is. Geo says, Jesus, 300,000 or even 50,000 is very cool. Thanks, Geo. Yeah, it is. I mean, especially for a project like ours that like, we're still so small. We're still not known well at all in the cryptocurrency sector or broadly. So yeah, that's the other thing about this. My hope and assumption is that inevitably, if we just keep going, which like, I'm certain this is my life's work, like I'm going to keep going. Seeds is going to keep going. It also exists independent of me. If something were to happen to me, Seeds would still exist. Yeah, I'm just trying to say that as long as we keep moving forward, more people will hear about the project, more people will become involved. And, there's the likelihood of greater abundance through things going up in price for seeds, and certainly of seeds being able to help more people in need. As we grow. So if that resonates with you, let other folks about seeds if you feel comfortable doing that, and consider joining our course. It's, as I said, I think I said, the doors are closing on the 20th. So that's 12 days away, and it supports our work, and hopefully you find it fun. I think it's fun. I like getting to do it and trading with everybody. And you get Seeds cryptocurrency and thanks. So that makes the course effectively free when you pay in full up front. Yeah, So that's all I got today. It's 12:19 my time, so I'll let y'all go. Um, yeah, I think that's it. That's everything in the chat. I appreciate y'all very much. Thank you for your time and your attention. And I'll catch you next time. Have a fun eclipse. Check out the eclipse if you're able to see it. I can't see it where I am, unfortunately, I don't think. But yeah, that's cool. Okay, catch you later. Bye.